Why, hello there, Scorpio, and happy birthday. Welcome to your November reading. You're always first on your birthday month. That's just the way my roster works. So this is your bonus. I just did your October messages, so we'll see if there's any sort of correlation, new messages that want to come through. As always, we are evolving. Things are changing. We're going to touch base on some of the changes that are going to occur in November that we've been talking about, but also kind of more of the transitions, right? And whatever wants to come up for you, affirmations, songs, etc., you can find below, as well as the general love reading, which you can find below. Since you have this new moon, I highly encourage you to watch that new moon in Scorpio reading that I just posted. You'll find that below as well. So lots of helpful links, my website if you want to get a private reading with me. I have a natal moon return special. It's very affordable. It's a way to get in touch with your natal moon return. Every month you got one. We look into the transits, we pull some cards, it's $20, and I have a 6-month subscription where you can really feel into, right, what your natal moon is trying to show you every month. Okay, so check out my website. I have a lot of other style readings for astrology and tarot support. And again, this reading will be for all Scorpio placements, but I am reading from a house system. So mainly sun and ascendant signs, but you can apply it to really any Scorpio placement, and also cross watchers. You may resonate with this message as well. It's truly timeless whenever you find this reading. I have faith that you're going to find it when you need this message, okay? So let's dive into some of the astrology stuff. As we know, Sun in Scorpio, Mercury in Scorpio, okay? And that's going to be till November 2nd. So let's talk about what's going to happen after Mercury leaves Scorpio, right? There's this high influence of Mercury in Scorpio right now, especially with this new moon. You have Pluto in Capricorn in your 3rd house, which is also communication. So Mercury, communication, 3rd house. These could be things coming up for you that we talked about in your October message. But we're going to focus on Pluto and Aquarius in your 4th house, okay? And also the full moon in Aries reading on my Patreon, I go a bit deeper. I have an extension to that full moon and also kind of some insight into 2025. And I have the Jupiter and Gemini reading, Jupiter's retrograde, Saturn direct reading on Patreon. So if you like my style and you want more supportive content leading into the new year and beyond, join me there. I'm going to be doing a Chiron series here in November, a Mercury retrograde reading as well on this channel. So subscribe. It's a free way to support this channel and to stay up to date for when I post. Because I'm going to be posting a lot of different style readings into the new year, okay? So let's talk about it. We're going into Mercury and Sag, okay? That's going to be in your 2nd house. Values, what you have. This is Taurus. This is your opposite. And we have this Taurus full moon. So there's a lot around values, priorities, commitments, and relationships. And I'm also going to link Kepacha. He's another one of my favorite astrologers, as well as Stephen Forrest. And I'm going to provide, I'm actually going to write this down so I don't forget. Give me a second while I find my pen. Bear with me. Where did my pen go? Oh, it's right in my lap. Let me write this down. So the Kepacha Paley report is perfect for you. He does them weekly. It's awesome. Just a deepening of this message. And also Stephen Forrest. He talks about reincarnation and evolutionary astrology. And I feel like this is very much fitting for the scorpionic, plutonic energy that we're feeling. Shedding skin. So I'll link those below if you want some supportive content, okay? So what you have, what you value, security, finances. You know, 2nd house is resources. Again, I have statements, and we're also having to learn with the 2nd house the things we don't need with the scorpionic energy. Shedding away things, maybe where we were operating from materialism or a scarcity mindset, this fear story, this dominance that's coming up. The shadow side of Scorpio is very much possessive and controlling. So learning how to find that balance and not be too reactionary or impulsive, especially with Sag too. They fight for their truth, and we're stepping into, we have Venus in Sag till November 11th, and again, Mercury on November 2nd is going into Sag. So this water-fire dynamic, it can be very volcanic and eruptive. So we have to become more of the observer, which again, I highlight in that new moon in Scorpio reading, is really being mindful and critical of the Five of Swords that was showing up, Seven of Wands. People are a bit defensive and not allowing yourself to absorb other people's fear stories. And also, you know, we're really trying to step out of the box and create our own identity with Pluto and Aquarius. It's your fourth house. So fourth house is all that's been hidden within the home that might be coming out, you know, with this scorpionic energy. It could feel like a tower moment. I did get that. And then Aquarius also represents the star. It's what comes after the tower in the major arcana. So there is a choice for you to heal what's been hidden within the home. Some financial constraints that you're having with this Sag influence, right? After Venus leaves Sagittarius November 11th, it goes into Capricorn in your third house. So there's a lot of the second, third. First, second, third. When I think of first, second, third, it's very much about the self. So this is you getting really clear with yourself, your identity, what you value, what you prioritize, and how you communicate it to the world. And be very wary of reactionary, defensive, control, dominance. And this is not just you. This is people around you. Become the observer. Try to refrain from making any sort of impulsive decisions during this time because it can be very volatile, okay? So we need to make sure that we are taking a step back, reframing. I've been talking about this. It's a very helpful tool, and I'm going to keep talking about it because it works for all my clients and myself. Parts work as well, internal family systems. I'm not a licensed psychologist, although I have a bachelor's in psychology and I'm still studying it in school. I want to share these resources with you so that you can become more familiar with ways to actually, in the tangible, physical 3D world, Saturn, utilize these tools and how to not be so defensive and on guard in a world that is very volatile in a micro and macro level, right? Become the observer. Be like water. You know, if you follow me on Instagram, you can find that link below. You can get to know me as a person, inspirational quotes. I've been really feeling into Bruce Lee and Taoism, this watery energy, be like water, learning how to be adaptable, not to bend, right, to other people's will, but also not to control other people as well. You know, being in more flow of, is this relationship, are these business partners, friends, family, allowing that flow? And if not, we need to learn how to surrender and not force. Be like water, okay? So these are some themes for you, okay? And then Leo is going into Mars November 3rd, and it's gonna go dancing back and forth for quite some time. We're gonna be between Leo and Cancer. We've been in Cancer now for almost a month and a half. So it's really interesting how we're gonna be in this dynamic till June. Okay, so Leo and Cancer. Interesting, huh? So for you, this Mars and Leo is in your 9th house. So we go from 8th to 9th, 8th to 9th, 8th to 9th. It's like, I think for you, the Mars energy, which you can also govern and rule Mars, right? Your Mars and Pluto is like, Mars in the 8th house is like hidden vitality, hidden potentials. It's your house. So you're going to be going from the 8th, which you've been in, to the 9th, which is higher truths. This is the aha revelations that I feel like is going to be coming in for all of us as Pluto goes into Aquarius on the 18th, 19th. So what's been hidden is no longer going to be able to be hidden. You're getting really close with your identity with all these first, second, third house influence that you've been dancing in, okay? And then we have this Mars influence. It's like how you're exerting yourself. You know, Mars in the 8th house, it's like hidden vitality, accessing hidden wisdom and then expanding on it, right? You might not move so quickly, which was another message in the new moon in Scorpio reading. We had a lot about action, right? This Mars influence, right? There's a lot of this watery fire dynamic that we're feeling into, and action is not all about asserting ourselves, doing more things, burning ourselves out. You know, again, controlling, you know, being in fight or flight, survival, 5 of Swords, tit for tat, competitiveness. It's coming up a lot for everyone. Okay, so be mindful of this. Observe when you step into this and when others do. Okay, and be more empathetic, right? But still maintain your values. Second house, okay? I got some messages for you that kind of go with exactly what we've been talking about. I got recessive, recede, kind of like the tides that are receding, noticing how these cycles of the tide and how they move with the moon, is knowing when to, again, assert yourself, action, Saturn, discipline, what's required of you as Saturn is now direct, and also knowing when to recede, contract, expand, contract, Jupiter, Saturn dynamic, right? They've been squaring off. And they will be squaring off until May of 2025, okay? And then again, I got the image of the tower. You can choose to stay stuck in that tower, or you can choose to heal, star, okay? And I do feel like you have an opportunity with Pluto going into Aquarius to do that. But it requires you digging up the 4th house. What's been hidden within the home, okay? What have you been hiding from with this Mars energy? Learning how to, again, be in reciprocal relationships, not over dominance. So receding from that, learning and observing when other people around you are controlling you as well. And why does that trigger you, right? Because that can definitely be something for Scorpios to learn. You know, I feel like this is very true. You know, every sign, for instance, I'll give an example for myself. I'm a Gemini sun in Western, and a Mercury Gemini. And they say, oh, you're great communicators. But we also have to understand that our strengths are also our weaknesses. So the strongest aspects of your sign are also where you meet the biggest lessons. So it's not just to say, oh, I know it all. No, the strengths that you have as your sign, and again, your birth chart holds so much knowledge. You're way more than your sun sign, okay? And I do detailed birth chart readings, so just know that if you want to go deeper with me, I have a 6 months transit reading. I have a human design reading, lots of good stuff on my website, okay? But again, your strengths can also be your weaknesses. And that's when Saturn will show you where you're limited within your own fullest potential, and learning how to balance that out. You know, becoming a better listener, you know, something that I have to learn. I definitely know how to communicate and articulate myself. It's a very good strength of mine. But not everyone around me may understand that. So there's the way to kind of become more adaptable. Be like water. And it doesn't mean to lose sight of who you are. But we don't have to dominate or assume that people are going to change and, you know, be just like us. This is not the way this world works. Okay. And then I got combative energy, right? Don't fight your shadow. And then I got recession, recessive, recede, and then recess. So like I was getting like this freedom with learning how to balance this kind of action, pause, expand, contract, this flow. The receding of the tides, you could be going near the water, you could live near the water, but there's this knowing when to pull back and knowing when to exert yourself was really the main message in your meditation. So I'm pulling out the fairy oracles because I'm feeling like this is a very magical time. This is Halloween, Samhain. I'm recording your reading on October 31st. There's so much powerful energy. The veils are thin, Scorpio. So this fairy oracle is very mystical and magical. I love my fairy friends. I always have since I was a child. So let's see what message wants to come out for you, Scorpio, from this deck. My Scorpio collective, what do you need to know? I also, when I think of the tower, I think of that 4th house. Pluto's going to be in your 4th house for a good 20 years. So you're going to have to get really clear around 4th house. Again, the first 7 years of your life, past life, ancestral work, working with your ancestors, family matters, home renovations, moving. This is everything to do with the home, your foundation. 4. It's also the Emperor. 4. Ooh, 52. 7. Interesting. 52 breaks down to 7, so 7th house of partnership, and this is the RAR, I believe. I always the The handwriting on this card is really hard to read sometimes. But let's read real quickly from this. The RAR. RAR. Beautiful orb. Wild energy, pure potential. Once upon a time, there was 3 pink boys, more or less, in a RAR. Well played in Brian's son Toby's bedroom. Brian is the illustrator of this deck. They liked the midnight tea parties, the magical ambience, and of course they liked Toby. Unfortunately, the pink boys got too rowdy, and Brian had to throw them out into the garden, which is where they belonged anyway. The RAR learned from their experience in a rarish way, and it was quieted down a bit during the midnight hours. RARs are not naughty or wicked. They're just full of energy. This is that receding, right? Knowing when to expand, knowing when to contract, knowing when to insert yourself and knowing when to pull back. You know, and if you notice that you've been in some sort of power dynamic, 5 of Swords, 7 of Wands energy that came up in that new moon Scorpio, it's that you can be the observer. You don't have to become thy enemy. You know, in relationships, this can happen where it's like, well, you did it, so I'm going to do it. But you did that, so I'm going to do that. And it's like, does that get us anywhere? No, that's ego. Right? You know, we have to be like, hey, I don't like that behavior, so I'm going to choose not to actually just mirror that. I'm going to explain myself and why I feel like that's not necessary, but I'm not going to stoop down to your level as the kind of thing. Be more empathetic, observe, witness these behaviors within yourself and around you. The rowdiness, you know. They're also not very discriminating. They like to join with whatever excitement is going on and add energy to it. So there's a sense of energy, especially right now. This is your solar return. Again, you had Venus in Scorpio in October, Mercury in Scorpio. So there is this exuberance, but you have to be mindful when that spotlight effect is on you, that it can also create a level of like, I got the power. That's going to be your song. You know, because Scorpios love that shit. They'll eat it up. But you gotta know when they'll be like, okay, am I operating from my ego? Am I being like too much? Am I pushing people away? You know, it's good to feel those things, but to not like almost like rub it in, you know, because not everyone's there. Maybe you're not. Maybe this is suggesting where you have a low energy, and that it can also create a level of aggravation. Think about when you're tired or hungry. You know, those can be the moments where you're just volatile. So there is this energy of kind of knowing when to pull back into your pure potential and to utilize that fire, that Mars influence, right? We have, again, Mars is going to be dancing between Leo and Cancer for a while, okay? It's going to go back into Cancer in December. It will go retrograde, so we're going to be feeling that recessiveness of Mars going retrograde is always going to be a moment where we have to pause a bit. You know, it might not be about forward movement all the time. But I think Leo and Mars for you is a great opportunity for you to exert this in a healthy way, right? And you'll figure that out on your own, right? Second house, yeah. Knowing when to maybe put yourself out there for a job opportunity. This is income, right? Resources. Knowing when to ask for help. Pulling on community. Realizing maybe community that's not there for you. This is also about communicating effectively as, again, it will go, we have this kind of dance between Leo and Mars, and then back to Mars and Cancer, which we'll talk about when we get there. But for now, Leo and Mars, or Mars and Leo in your second house. It says, think of the roar of a growling dog, the roar of an engine, right? As I say, RARs don't discriminate. It is up to us to do that. They put a live spark into whatever is happening. So there could be this spark of energy for you, right? Utilize it, of course. Maximize on this potential. This is pure potential. It's very enthusiastic. You can accomplish a great deal with energy being made available to you. This is a good time, right? On any sort of financial opportunities. Mars in the second house, you know? Sorry, I keep looking back to my notes because I scribble and scrabble and I'm not saying this right, but that's maybe a message for you. Okay, money matters. Okay, it could be something that you really need to really sit with. Okay, Mars and Leo's in your 9th house. So again, Mars in Cancer, 8th. Mars and Leo, 9th. 8th to 9th. 8th to 9th. Hidden energy that's coming up to the surface. Again, hidden resources of energy so that you can expand financially. Because that seems to be something that's coming up. Why I said it. There's never any coincidence, okay? When I slip up, which we all do sometimes, I don't believe that there's ever any coincidence. You know, it just, that's what's meant to come out for you, okay? So let's pull from the Tarot for Scorpio. Happy birthday. 3 of Pentacles. Material work, exactly. I'm feeling like money. Money matters, which makes sense. Pluto in the 2nd house. Oh no, 3rd house. It's been 3rd to 4th. But I guess this Taurus access for you is why I'm feeling so much of this value. It's coming up. Death was on the floor here. Okay, we're going to take it. That's your card. Yeah, so much 2nd house is coming up for you. Where do you have 2nd house in your chart or dealing with a Taurus? What else for Scorpio? Ooh, 5 of Swords. There's that 5 of Swords. Ooh, be mindful of ego. Tit for tat. 5 of Wands. Yep, this is what I was saying. And this came up again in the new moon Scorpio. We have Lord of Defeat, Lord of Strife, and Prince of the Chariot of Fire. So it's like, yes, utilize this exertion of power, the RAR. There's infinite potential, but it's not meant to be malicious or vindictive or combative. The RAR is something that we can utilize, but we also need to know how to control it, in a sense. And to step away from people that are, you know, naysayers, or again, this could be internal. This could be you, right? King of Wands. It could be a King of Wands in your life. Aries, Leo, Sag. Male or female, doesn't matter. But this is where we have to be able to know when to pull away from conflict, especially with these 2 5s. There's a point of tension. And everyone's feeling this right now as we are shedding skin. This need for dominance, that can be a struggle. Power. Scorpios love power. You know, you are a very powerful sign. You know, and you can tap into this hidden power and potential. But are you using it from a place of fear, scarcity, right? Control, dominance. These are things that you have to remember. Are you doing it from a place of love? And, you know, wanting to help others as well along the way, rather than it's like tit for tat, 5 of Swords. Because usually with the 5 of Swords, it's like one person thinks that they're getting away, but they're leaving a mess behind them. And they're getting away with 3 swords, which is the 3 of Swords. It's just more pain, more burden that they now have to hold on to because maybe they thought that was the best way to handle the conflict. I'm getting reminded here that when we are in conflict, especially with our partners, and in the love reading, we'll go deeper into this, of course. These are more self-focused, but if someone else shows up, all the better. Is that when we want to exit conflict, maybe avoid it, or just don't want to take accountability, is that we will create a ruckus because it feels safer to do that. Because it can be very vulnerable. It can be a place where we have to really be ourselves, death. When we can sit there with grace and ease and humbleness and accountability, rather than just pointing the finger outward. That could be something that you could really work on, is to, instead of trying to dominate 5 of Wands, 5 of Swords, or let others, again, put you in this place, is to remain kind of like the eye of the storm. When there's chaos around you, external pressures, this competitive mindset, lots about competition. Don't become the competition. Try to break away from it and to stick with your truth, Scorpio. Okay, this Scorpio Sag influence is very much about truth. And you'll be feeling more into that as we enter into Sag season. There is something around the 4. This is Pluto in the 4th house, 4 of Wands, Aries here. We have Aries, Capricorn. We have Aquarius, Leo, and we have Aries, Leo, lots of fire. Aries, Leo, Sag. You might have fire in your chart, but there is something about cooperation within the home, leaning on people that are there for your help, like foundational building. This is business, relationships, all that good stuff. And then also letting go and turning your back, 3 of Wands, on relationships that are not cooperating with you, right? Where there's not an equal exchange. And not to say that relationships are always going to be 50-50. But if we can speak, we can communicate in a place of balance and understanding and compassion for another, then maybe we can get, to the other side of that conflict, right? Adjustments are required. Yeah, you might need to be a bit flexible. I also was just looking into the nervous system, and, to access, there's the docile, I believe it's called the sympathetic, and then there's the vagal, right? These 3 parts of the nervous system. And there's a ladder effect. We naturally all go through fight or flight, especially if we're in dorsal, where we're completely shut down, right? Completely shut down. We have no control. We feel out of control. We feel weakened. And then that 5 of Swords is kind of fight or flight for me. And there's a time for that. We all need to actually go through the fight or flight to get to the vagal, right? The sympathetic to the vagal. We have to move through fight or flight. But again, it's the rebuilding after the quarrel, after realizing, man, I'm operating out of fear. I just want to fight, or I want to flight, I know that I'm doing this. I'm observing. I'm going to reframe. And I'm going to sit with this. And then that's where the adjustments are required here. That's when you can actually get into a place of harmony, or at least gain some perspective, where you're not just going around and around the hamster wheel, where you're going back to the dorsal, sympathetic, dorsal, sympathetic. You want to be able to get to that higher vantage point of the vagal, where you can actually be more open, curious, confident, courageous, right? Open mindset, growth mindset. We all want those things, but we can get stuck in that lower ladder, okay? 3rd quarter moon. So this is losing light. This is something that just actually occurred, but before the new moon. But this could be something to look forward to as the next 3rd quarter moon. Yeah, conclusions are within reach, the full moon. So I do think, again, with all this kind of 2nd house Taurus energy that we're talking about, again, emotional, physical, financial security, comfort, what you value. I think that those adjustments that are required will become more aware towards, again, after the full moon. So we have the full moon to the 3rd quarter. So there's about, I would say, 10 days in between this. So this is going to be leaning more into December, because the full moon is on, I think, the 15th, full moon in Taurus. 2nd house for you. No, 7th house, partnerships. Adjustments could be required in partnerships. Again, any sort of Taurus influence is going to be in your 7th house. So yeah, conclusions will be in reach. It's looking like during this next full moon, or it could be the full moon in December, right? But it's showcasing this, and it's eclipse. So this could also be talking about the last full moon eclipse, which again, on Patreon, I have those readings, and I also have an eclipse playlist below, as well as my North and South Node series to look into your North and South Node placements. Very important as we are evolving at this time. So full moon to 3rd quarter. So after the full moon, taking stock of the 3rd quarter moon for you. All right, let's see. We're going to pull one more card, and then we're going to look into some signs that you could be dealing with in love. This is soul's growth. Where can the Scorpio learn how to grow? What can they strengthen? Relationships. There could be a change in relationships as well for some of you. And we'll see in the love reading. It says, I'm attracted to those people who serve my higher good. And change. I understand that nothing can grow or evolve without movement. That was the Death card that showed up for you. Yeah, you could be feeling a level of unhappiness or uncertainty. Again, conclusions could be within reach. The full moon in Taurus is going to be highlighting your 7th house. Okay. But yeah, looks like relationships are going to be at the forefront here. And this doesn't have to be intimate. In the love reading, I always lean towards intimate, but whatever resonates for you, right? Family, friend, foe, past, present, future, right? Readings, my readings tap into all of it, and you get to use your intuition. If it resonates or not, right? Let's see what signs you could be dealing with in love, and we'll take this over to the love reading. You can find that link below as well as all the other helpful links. I'll make sure to link Pacha's Paley Report if you don't know about him. Amazing astrologer, deepening this message, in Stephen Forrest on reincarnation and the chart. Great astrologers. Two of my biggest teachers. Pluto just flew out. There we go. There we are, Scorpio. Who could you be dealing with in love, Scorpio? Who are you dealing with in love for November? Venus, Taurus, Libra. Okay, Venus is again in Sag. It's going to go into Capricorn mid-month. We talked about that. Yes, we go from second to third. So there's going to be lots around communication for you. Oh, man. Mid-month, when Venus goes into Capricorn. Or you could think back to Venus and Scorpio, something that happened then. That was just recently. I think on October 17th is when it went into Sag. So anytime before then, that could be signifying that. What other signs are showing up in love for Scorpio? Neptune, Pisces. We have air signs here. Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. And then we have Gemini right below there. Again, third house as well. This is communication. But it could be Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. They could have any of these placements, an air placement in their Neptune, Venus, or Pluto. Or these are transits, energies, you name it, right? I have transit readings where we can do synastry. Transit readings that look at the current energy with the planets, your chart, and your dynamic. Okay, so check my website out. We're going to go deeper into the love reading. I hope to find you over there. If this is where we part, bye for now.